Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and the city in which we live. Guide us this evening as we make our decisions. In Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
This is a special call meeting of the Newnan City Council, December the 9th, 2025. The reason for this special call meeting is a public hearing on the FY26 budget. And I'm going to open the public hearing at this time and call on Meg Kelsey to lead us through the presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. I appreciate your attention, appreciate the support of our community that's here today to hear about our budget. Appreciate all the staff that has put all the work in to preparing this budget and the manager's office for their lead in putting this product together. So tonight, I am going to provide just a brief presentation. We do have an extended presentation. It's about 60 PowerPoint slides. So I've narrowed that down to about 20. So we're going to try to hit the high points. So there's a lot of other information out there. We're happy to share that with you. If you want to come and sit down with Cletus and I, we're glad to sit down with you and go through that slide by slide. Certainly your preference. So tonight, again, I'll be hitting the highlights. My goal is to try to get through this in the next 10 or so minutes so that we have time for the citizens to come forward. And if you have any questions or if they want to make any comments, that's their time to do that. So we want to make sure that they have time for that. Mr. Ray, are you okay?
I'm okay.
Can you hear me?
For those of you who don't know what we're doing, Ray DeBose, the council member, is actually on the telephone for this meeting tonight, so we're making sure he can hear.
So I just want to lead with notifying the council that the Government Finance Officers Association did for the 36th year award the City of Newnan with the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award. That's quite an accomplishment for so many years, and we will be actually submitting again for this year with our budget. Just a reminder, our budget is online, and it was published back November the 12th online. We did the advertisement in the paper for this public hearing. This is just kind of a brief overview of the schedule that we have followed. So this budget process actually started in late July. Here we are, December 9th, having our public hearing. And then you won't actually adopt the budget tonight. You're just going to hear public comment. You're going to give, again, a brief summary from me about what's in this budget. And then you won't actually adopt this budget until January the 13th. So that's just kind of a schedule of events for you. Sorry. So Newnan's financial condition is we're very financially stable. We have 9 months of reserves. We have no debt. We basically, when you look at the breakdown, we have 14 funds. We're going to spend a lot of time tonight more focused on our major funds. So we have our general fund. We're presenting to you a budget of $43.4 million. It is a balanced budget. We have not used any reserves in this budget. The budget is a 14.57% increase over last year. We're going to talk about the reasons why, but mainly they are to deal with capital, some professional service needs, and employment needs. Our sanitation fund, the budget is $5.6 million. You will see that there is no transfer from the general fund this year into the sanitation fund, so that was removed. So that's positive news. This is a 6.6% increase from prior year. That's due to provider increases. Our contract with Amwaste, as you're aware, went up 3%, and some employment needs that we needed there in our bulk and brush service that we provide. We do have 12 restricted funds, and if you totaled all of those funds up, that's about $24.16 million that we have. And so when I say restricted funds, those are earmarked funds that are used for special purposes, and so they're all different. I tried to outline those for you here. So you can see we have a number of housing funds, and those are primarily grant funds that are used for that purpose. We have actually 2 SPLOST funds. We still have the 2019 SPLOST fund, and that is primarily still being used for road work. The end goal of that money will be for the Lower Fayetteville widening project. We're going to spend a little bit of time at the end talking about the 25 SPLOST money and those capital projects that are going to be coming out next year. We're very close to spending all the ARPA money. I had hoped by the end of December that those funds would be depleted. Andrew's shaking his head at me. But we're very close, and we do feel like we'll close out that fund at the beginning of next year. We collect a hotel motel tax. That's an 8% tax. The city only keeps 3 of those 8 pennies, and those pennies go into the general fund to help with operations. We do have confiscated asset fund. Those funds are to help with PD operations. The opioid settlement funds, y'all directly pass those through to Coweta Force. And then we have street improvement funds. That's about $1.1 million for next year, and those are funds that we receive through the Georgia Department of Transportation. Their acronyms are LMIG. You hear us talk a lot about those. And the new funds that have come out the past couple years out of the governor's office, the LRA funds. And then we do collect impact fees from developers, and those are for purposes of fire, parks, and streets. You'll see one of the big projects for impact fees for next year is going to focus on parks, and it's going to help us with our link extension. It'll be that Cougar Sewell Road, so we are going to pull some money out of that impact fee money to help with that project. So the next slide is really just a combination of adding all those funds together. So if you look at the far right for proposed for 26, you see we're proposing to spend $73.2 million. If you look at the other columns, if you start with the actual for 22, 23, and 24, that's actually what we spent in all of those funds, right? And then estimated is what we think that we will spend by year end, which is that $58.5 million. So we're budgeting to spend $73 million. We may not get all our capital done. We'll just have to see, but that's what we're planning to do resource-wise. That's about a 25% increase from 2025. So general fund, our budget trends, our fund has been continuing to grow. You can see that from 21 to 26, our budgets have increased about 55.3%. From 25 to 26, we're going to see an increase of 14.57%. Again, it's a balanced budget, and no reserves are used here. Revenue trends, our revenue trends continue to grow. I point to the 22 line here as the second column. You'll see where the revenue was $42.5 million. Well, we received about $7.4 million from tornado relief. So if you back that down, it's closer to that blue line. So it's a very consistent trend line in terms of our revenue growth, and we see that moving into 26. So what are our top revenue sources? When you look at that and you break it down, sales tax is going to be 56% of our revenue source, and that really changes with the new FLOST, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. Last year when we looked at this same graph, sales tax was 35% and property tax was 22%. So just want to draw your attention to that change. That's a substantial change in the type of revenue source that the city is going to receive over next year. Following that, in terms of top revenue sources, you have our franchise taxes that are paid, our occupational tax and alcohol licensing, and other financing sources. Those are really the top leaders there in revenue. So the floating local option sales tax did pass, and so what does that mean for us? That means that we're going to be proposing to the council that we roll back millage to zero. So there will be no property tax, just like you saw in that graph before. So no property tax for the citizens of Newnan from the city of Newnan. We are estimating that collections from the FLOST through that sales tax will be about $12 million. I always like to point out the sales tax to people because I don't think people really understand how those pennies are spent. So if you look at sales tax, it's going to go to 8% in Coweta County. 4 of those pennies go to the state. 1 of those pennies goes to the Board of Education for their East FLOST. 1 penny of loss, the city of Newnan only receives 30.28% of that. So we don't get that whole penny. Of the 1% SPLOST penny, we receive 26.94%. And of the new FLOST that was agreed upon through an intergovernmental agreement with the county and the other cities that are participating in the FLOST, that's 29.11%. So I think that's just important to point out. So this is just a graph that shows you that millage rate going to zero. And you see in '25, the council took the rollback rate of 3.082. And those tax collections were due on December 1st. So we're still receiving those funds from the county. So this is just the expense side of the house for the general fund. You can see for most years we've actually exceeded our budgets, and I note on each year why we've exceeded those budgets, and they're really for special projects that the mayor and council have authorized staff to proceed with. So our big project in '24 was $3 million of additional street paving work that we did. You can see '25, we haven't had one of those big projects, so we're gonna be very close to our budget. We're gonna be a little bit over expense, but pretty close, I think. And then you can see the projection of that $43 million for '26. So FLOSS significantly impacted our budget when that was passed. I actually did a first budget, and our first budget was only 3%. I had to cut out a lot of things that were needed, that were asked for in terms of personnel, in terms of some capital items. But when FLOSS passed, we were able to infuse another $3 million into our budget. So there's some significant changes, and I'm going to outline in a minute of how we're going to spend those dollars. So the first is in employment. So we have a net add of 16 additional positions proposed. As you can see, 11 of those are in the public safety world, and I would just point out on the police side, 2 of those positions are actually going to be paid for through our COPS grant program. So we're fortunate to have that there. But we are adding people in facilities, IT, sanitation, our street department to help with our sidewalks, which we really need to spend some money and get some manpower out there to do that. We did remove a position in our finance department that we really felt like we didn't need. We'll evaluate that over time. As we grow, we might need to add that back. We'll just see. We do have 2 part-time positions that were added, one in fire and one in cemetery. We are proposing a salary increase for our employees of 3%, and we are proposing that our pay ranges increase the min and max by 2%. That'll bring our employment up to 321 full-time employees, 15 part-time employees, and we have the 7, of course, elected officials. So that's the employment piece. We also have some professional service needs that we feel like that we'd like to do. So one of our SPLOST projects is Fire Station 3, the remodel of that. And so we need to find a design team to do that. And so we're very strapped for cash in terms of all the projects that we've laid out in the SPLOST fund. So we'll be able to use this funds to get the design done and not have to pull money out of SPLOST. There's also a need that we hear the DDA is going to come and talk to the council about a bike and pedestrian plan for downtown Newnan. So we've allocated some money in there in case you decide you want to do that for a strategic planning process. We're also working on an RFQ for banking services and putting that out the first of next year. And then City Hall is very limited in terms of our conference room space, community space. We just don't have the space here at City Hall to have all the meetings that we host. So potentially looking at, another building for that, adding on to our building, just kind of evaluating that, and really it's just design work to figure out how we could do that and how that would lay out. And then we've added some additional capital into this general fund budget. And so we have proposed funding for an ERP solution to upgrade our computer operating systems. We've really been using the same operating system since I think '03. Is that '03? So it's really time to reevaluate that system and kind of merge all of our systems together as much as possible. We're operating very independently in some aspects. We've put money in there for sidewalk repairs, for vehicles. Like I said earlier, when we did the initial budget, I had to cut out some vehicles, so we've added some vehicles back. And then some vehicles are needed for the new crews that we're adding. And then we've put money in there for a drone for the police department. Sanitation fund.
Okay, Ms. Kelsey, you're
Yes.
15 minutes in, so I don't
I'm
know where
almost
you.
done.
Okay.
I've
good.
got three
Thank
more
you.
slides and we're almost done. So this is our sanitation revenue. Most of our revenue, 67%, comes from the garbage fees for residential. That's actually passed on to the carrier and waste. So that's a big piece of that revenue that the city doesn't maintain. But we do collect fees for commercial garbage. We collect fees for an admin fee for our customer service center that we operate. And then we have a yard debris and collections that we perform for our residents. Great service. So this is the expense side. So most of the money that we generate is spent there on operating expenses. 86% of that, other contractual services, goes to Amwaste, who's our private hauler, who takes care of our residential garbage. The other percent is 18% for personnel. This I'll leave you with our capital projects, and you can see a lot of street work to be done, a lot of parks. We did have the groundbreaking day for Bicentennial and for Greenville Street Parks. We're excited about those things coming out of the ground, so we've got a lot to look forward to. We do have 2 public safety projects, some cemetery improvements, and that ERP system that I talked about. So I apologize, I've run over my time.
No problem.
So
Okay,
it's a
thank
good
you.
report, and we look forward to hearing from the community.
And before I ask for any question from council, because you'll have an opportunity to meet with Mr. Phillips or Ms. Kelsey if you need to after the meeting tonight. This is a public hearing for the public to comment on the 2026 budget. So this is your opportunity to come forward at this time to comment on the 2026 budget for the city of Newnan. Mr. Craver, how are you? Well. Ms. Kelsey, I may be able to give you more time. Seeing no one come forward. This is your opportunity to come forward to speak to the 2026 budget for the city of Newnan. If you'll come to the podium and state your name for the record, so the audio system can pick you up, that'd be great.
Phyllis Graham. I am curious with the sanitation plan, looking at the big graph, how much of that is going towards recycling, and I know that's been a bone of contention. I'm on Keep Newnan Beautiful Commission, and we've heard that there's no recycling with cardboard, and to me that is, if we can do something to address that. So Ms. Kelsey, is that part of that whole pie chart, the recycling part of it?
But your question specifically is about cardboard.
I think all of it in general, just because I hear mixed things that Paige reported that there was no plastic recycling now in our county, but then I went out to Welcome Road and was able to recycle. So I don't know, it just seems to be a nebulous area.
I mean, the city of Newnan doesn't have a, is this on? Can y'all hear me? The city of, I don't think it's on. There we go, thank you. The city of Newnan doesn't have a recycling center per se. My understanding is that Amwaste, as part of the service that they provide, that they're actually taking out the recyclables from your garbage and separating them and recycling. That's been my understanding. The city manager might have a
They're currently
more
under
detail.
contract to take a minimum of 20% of the commingled cans to a sorting facility in Montgomery, Alabama called Repower South. But yeah, there certainly has been some questions about,
Right.
the ability to audit what actually goes and what doesn't go.
Exactly.
Certainly we'll tell you in discussions with other cities, recycling is a very expensive.
Yes.
There's obviously pros and cons, as we
Exactly.
all know. Certain levels of recycling comes with a price tag. But yeah, the current contract requires 20% of the cans to end up at the recycling facility.
Okay, well, thank you for your attention to that, and I think just awareness of the need for that should continue, so thank you.
Thank you for your question. Any other comments about the 2026 budget for the city of Newnan? Be happy to take those comments down. All right, seeing no one come forward then, Ms. Kelsey, unless you do have anything else, I'm going to close this public hearing at this time and ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, we adjourn the meeting. Now, we're going to adjourn this meeting as soon as I do that, but our regular meeting will start at 6:30, so you'll have 10 minutes. Meeting adjourned. Thank you for being here.